She's famously made everything from cola to gummy worms, cereal, cough drops, even sunscreen, all completely from scratch.
Sources suggest that Nara potentially earns over $100,000 for a single sponsored post. Some conservative estimates put her annual sponsorship income somewhere over $2 million.
Take that Marc Jacobs collab where she made a handbag from scratch out of flour and food coloring and then baked it.
That one post generated nearly $1 million in media impact value on TikTok alone in just 48 hours.
This wasn't just about her personal choice anymore. Not when you have 12 million followers. This was someone with enormous reach, potentially influencing other pregnant women to make genuinely dangerous decisions based on the fact that it was presented as more natural and therefore healthier. Picture this. You're scrolling and you see this woman. Her kitchen looks like something out of a luxury magazine. She's wearing this designer dress and whispering into the mic while making homemade bubblegum with ingredients she just happens to have on hand. Then you see another video. She's wearing a $3,000 dress this time and making cornflakes from scratch, 4 weeks postpartum.
How is that even possible? At 4 weeks postpartum, I was proud of myself for microwaving oatmeal. Seriously. And I still needed a nap after.
She makes it look so effortless. And 12 million people can't stop watching her. This is Nara Smith, South African-German model turned influencer. She's built this massive following around what a lot of people call the trad wife aesthetic.
That very idealized, super curated, traditional homemaking image. But here's what you might not realize. You're being sold a fantasy. A very expensive fantasy by someone who probably makes more in a single sponsored post than most of us do in a year.
Every whisper in her videos, every aesthetic choice, every supposedly relatable moment, well, it's all designed.
Designed to make you feel maybe subtly inadequate and definitely to encourage spending. And it seems to be working. We're hearing about young women making huge life decisions, partly influenced by this kind of content.
Content created by a whole team of professionals.
And funded by luxury brands.
So today we're going to talk about 4 specific manipulation tactics that have turned domestic life into, frankly, one of the most profitable performances online. We'll look at the moment the illusion started to unravel for Nara herself. And maybe most importantly, we want to arm you with the insight to really see through these tactics. Because look, while Nara Smith's content is a really clear example, these marketing strategies, they're everywhere.
There are thousands of creators across every platform and all sorts of niches selling different dreams using similar methods.
Okay, let's get into it then.
First up, who is Nara Smith?
Nara Smith, she was born in South Africa in September 2001, German background, grew up there mostly. Started modeling really young.
IMG Models found her when she was just 14 through their We Love Your Jeans campaign. Moved to the U.S. at 18, and she quickly became a face for brands like Aritzia.
And then she met Lucky Blue Smith, another well-known model, in 2019. And things moved fast.
Really fast. Their wedding was February 2020.
They barely knew each other. Maybe a few months.
She's now 24 years old and already juggling 3 kids under 5. And she just announced a 4th pregnancy back in June 2025.
Okay, so a rapidly growing family.
Definitely. So it wasn't until late 2023, early 2024, her online presence just exploded. Millions of followers, over 9 million on TikTok, and 1 million on Instagram in just a few months.
And the numbers just keep climbing. As of right now, September 2025, she's at 12 million followers on TikTok and almost 5 million on Instagram. Her signature, make everything from scratch. Cooking videos are super curated, yet somehow they look completely effortless.
The recipes themselves are often absurd, and that's what makes her content so mesmerizing.
She's famously made everything from cola to gummy worms, cereal, cough drops, even sunscreen, all completely from scratch. And these aren't quick 5-minute recipes. They're elaborate, time-consuming processes for things most people would just grab off a shelf without a second thought. Take her PB&J video. She starts it by saying, "This morning, my toddler stumbled into my room, and the first words out of her mouth were PB&J."
Relatable start.
Right. So that's exactly what I got started on. Now, for most of us, a PB&J takes, what, 5 seconds?
Tops.
Grab the bread, slap it together.
Done.
Not for Nara. She starts by making fresh bread. That's 2 hours just for it to rise, then another hour to stand before baking. And while that's happening, she's just casually making raspberry jam from scratch and handcrafting peanut butter, roasting the peanuts, blending them, the whole 9 yards.
What toddler on earth is waiting 3 hours for a sandwich?
Mine would be absolutely feral by hour 2.
And they probably wouldn't even want PB&J anymore by hour 3. They'd be on to, like, yogurt or something.
And get this, she's doing all this while pregnant with her 3rd baby, who has that kind of energy. chasing 2 toddlers, growing a human, and making bread for hours. It just defies all logic when you think about parenting small children. And then there's the famous hot dog video. She says, "We just landed after a 10-hour flight, and the first thing my husband requests is a hot dog."
Okay, jet-lagged craving, understandable, quick trip to the store.
Nope, makes them from scratch. Bakes the buns, makes the sausage links, grinds her own spices with a mortar and pestle like she's auditioning for Little House on the Prairie, makes the mustard from scratch.
Meanwhile, I'd be telling my husband, congrats on surviving the flight. 7-Eleven's that way. Good luck.
That sounds way more like real life. What really gets me, though, is that she does all of this while wearing these incredible designer dresses. Chanel, Rodarte, Miu Miu.
That's her signature. Cooking in couture.
You watch her just seamlessly fermenting cheese or kneading dough, and she looks like she just stepped off a runway in Paris. And then there's that distinctive, almost ASMR-like whisper. It's so over the top, and it works. Millions of views, fierce debate in the comments, massive engagement.
While she presents as this idealized homemaker, the reality is Nara is a highly successful working fashion model. She travels internationally for shoots, for runway shows. It's a pretty reasonable assumption that she's likely the primary breadwinner for her family, which makes her highly curated domestic content feel more like a cosplay of a stay-at-home mom rather than her actual day-to-day reality.
She's arguably an incredibly modern woman, but the content, she's creating an illusion that smooths over a much more complex working reality. The simple life, it's anything but. It's a performance. But behind that highly polished act are some seriously clever marketing strategies.
The themes are motherhood, married life, cooking, which is why people started calling it trad wife content.
Traditional gender roles, homemaking focus. But it's important to note, Nara has tried to distance herself from that label specifically.
Because that label in a lot of online spaces gets tied up with some pretty extreme political or religious views, like the whole Mormon speculation she specifically denied.
It leads us right into this really clever marketing tactic, strategic neutrality. Some people call it the empty billboard strategy. Nara deliberately avoids controversy. She never, ever responds to criticism, doesn't share political or social opinions. She just stays completely neutral. Remember that rumor that she was suing another TikToker? Silence. No statements, no reaction, nothing.
And that silence, it's not a weakness at all. It's a core marketing strategy. That deliberate neutrality is insanely powerful for her brand and her bank account.
By refusing to take a stance on pretty much anything, she turns herself into essentially a blank canvas.
Any brand can project their desired image onto her because there's nothing to contrast it with.
That means universal appeal. She doesn't alienate anyone.
Which makes her incredibly marketable. This strategic neutrality, it maximizes brand deals. Sources suggest that Nara potentially earns over $100,000 for a single sponsored post. Some conservative estimates put her annual sponsorship income somewhere over $2 million.
Take that Marc Jacobs collab where she made a handbag from scratch out of flour and food coloring and then baked it.
That one post generated nearly $1 million in media impact value on TikTok alone in just 48 hours.
MIV is basically the estimated financial value a brand gets from all the online mentions, engagement, reach, and the quality of that exposure. It's roughly what the brand would have had to spend on traditional advertising to get that same level of impact and audience trust.
And to put that in perspective, it outperformed the brand's average influencer posts by 149 times.
So she's incredibly valuable to these brands.
Which also tells you that all those regular non-sponsored cooking videos, they serve a purpose. They build the audience, the engagement, the platform that she then monetizes with these sponsorships. They are the foundation that makes those lucrative sponsorships possible. The real paradox here, though, is that while the financial gains are monumental, the cost to us, as consumers, is that we often end up not really connecting with a person.
We're buying into an image, not really engaging with an individual.
It fundamentally changes how we perceive authenticity online.
She's selling a very specific dream with this super glam, do everything from scratch life, one that isn't really meant to be relatable. And that leads us straight into the next tactic, perpetual aspiration.
The art of selling a dream that feels just within reach, but is actually designed to stay forever out of grasp. It shows you a life that looks achievable on the surface, but never quite is, keeping you in this constant state of wanting more. Think the Kardashians, they sell products tied to their lifestyle, but deep down you'll never actually have their life.
Right.
But Nara's approach feels different, more insidious maybe.
Yeah, because her content focuses on domestic life, cooking, marriage, motherhood, things that feel more achievable.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you just woke up a little earlier or baked a little more and got better organized, maybe, just maybe, you could have this too. It triggers that if-only feeling.
It's less about saying you can do this too and more about creating an image so desirable that you want to try, but you'll probably never quite catch up.
The result is content that's undeniably alluring, but completely out of reach for most people. And here's the hidden reality behind the effortless aesthetic. She's making cereal in a $3,000 Chanel dress, in a $1.4 million Connecticut home with a pantry that looks like a curated boutique grocery store.
This utopian domestic dream is designed to trigger what media psychologists call soft envy, a subtle, constant hum of not good enough, like a little background noise just reminding you your kitchen doesn't look like that. You're not fermenting your own cheese from scratch. You're falling short somehow.
It's this pervasive dissatisfaction with your own life. But that slow, simple life, it costs very fast money.
Behind the scenes, there's a whole support system you never see. Stylists, managers, probably nannies, agency reps, professional cameras, lighting.
That whole hidden infrastructure is what makes it look effortless.
And that's where the psychological impact really hits hard. Media psychologist Dr. Sarah Chen calls this aspirational relatability. It feels relatable enough on the surface to let you connect, but it's aspirational enough to make you feel subtly inadequate at the same time. And it taps into what psychologists call the achievement gap, that tendency our brains have to constantly focus on what we don't have yet, rather than appreciating what we do. It creates this powerful, endless loop. You stay hooked on the pursuit itself, even though the actual goal, this perfect life, is ultimately unattainable. For young women especially, who are maybe making big life choices, this kind of engineered fantasy can easily be mistaken for reality. They might internalize it, accept it as the standard for womanhood, for marriage, for motherhood. Studies suggest this can actually influence real decisions. Maybe having kids earlier than planned, stepping back from careers, sacrificing financial independence, all in the chase for a lifestyle that doesn't actually exist, not even for the person portraying it.
Okay, it makes sense that someone so adept at shaping public perception might also excel at subtler forms of influence. Which brings us neatly to tactic number 3, subliminal messaging.
Yes.
And it really makes you wonder, did her modeling background actually train her for this kind of covert sell?
Oh, her modeling background is absolutely crucial here. As a fashion model, her job is literally to be a human mannequin, a blank canvas designed to sell fantasy lifestyles wrapped up in fabric and brand names.
Okay.
But on social media, she's taken that exact same skill set and amplified it massively. She's not just selling a dress anymore.
She's selling the entire life.
Yes.
And this is where her agency ties come in, right? IMG.
Absolutely central. She's signed to IMG, one of the world's biggest modeling agencies, and IMG has deep, direct financial relationships with luxury powerhouses. We're talking Prada, Marc Jacobs, Chanel, Rodarte.
So these aren't just random brands she likes.
No, these are pre-existing industry relationships. They're the engine driving her subtle marketing strategy.
So when she's wearing a $3,000 Chanel dress while making a grilled cheese, it doesn't read as an ad. It doesn't feel like product placement. It feels organic. Like, oh, that's just what Nara wears.
And this is where it gets really tricky with disclosure rules. She's faced significant criticism for consistently failing to properly disclose paid partnerships, often leaving off the legally required paid partnership toggle on her posts.
That Liquid IV post is probably the most cited example, isn't it? Where she talked quite a bit about motherhood and only mentioned the product right at the very end. It made the ad appear more like an authentic recommendation, not a paid partnership.
This is a subtle yet really powerful form of psychological manipulation because it bypasses your natural advertising defenses. You're kind of tricked into thinking you spontaneously chose a product, or that this is just her genuine opinion, completely unaware of the potentially six-figure marketing campaign behind it.
And this leads us directly into her fourth tactic, which feels closely related, parasocial manipulation.
This is all about leveraging that one-sided emotional connection that you, the viewer, form with her. It's that feeling like you know her. Nara shares just enough personal information like her struggles with eczema or sweet little moments with her husband to build that sense of intimacy.
But then often she strategically monetizes it, for example, using those eczema struggles as a lead-in to sell probiotics or specific skincare products. And the evidence of that connection is right there in the comments sections. When she's criticized, her audience fiercely defends her.
Like she's their own sister.
Which demonstrates just how effectively that emotional connection translates directly into purchasing power. or at least brand loyalty. They're emotionally invested, so they're far more likely to trust her recommendations, even when they're actually disguised ads.
It's a very effective loop.
Okay, then came that moment when Nara's carefully constructed illusion nearly unraveled completely. The incident that sort of peeled back the curtain on the potential dangers of this highly curated, aesthetically driven content. The raw milk incident. It was June 2025.
She posts what looks like just another one of her dreamy baking videos. You know the style. She's making cookies.
Looks perfect, as always. The lighting, the outfit, everything.
But then, right at the very end of the video, she says, in that signature whisper,
"These hit the spot with some cold, raw milk." And she describes it as natural and nourishing.
but there's just one huge problem.
She is very, very visibly pregnant in the video. For pregnant women, raw milk is absolutely a serious health risk. We're talking about contamination from dangerous pathogens like Listeria, Salmonella, E. coli. These are bacteria that can cause devastating outcomes. Miscarriages, stillbirths, severe illness, even death in newborns. The FDA, the CDC, and basically every major health organization explicitly warns pregnant women against consuming raw milk. There is zero medical ambiguity here. It's just dangerous.
The backlash was immediate and fierce.
Medical professionals flooded TikTok and Instagram, condemning the content, explaining the risks. Even her most devoted fans were fiercely split in the comments. You saw some defending her personal choice. Others were alarmed, pointing out the massive influence she has, especially potentially over other pregnant women watching her. And Nara's response to all the criticism, complete silence.
Nothing. The video just stayed up for weeks, collecting views, comments, controversy, and then it just quietly disappeared. Poof.
No explanation, no disclaimer added like, consult your doctor.
Nope. No acknowledgement whatsoever of the very real risks she just promoted to millions of viewers, many of whom might be pregnant or considering pregnancy.
Her usual strategy of neutrality, it backfired here.
Hugely. Her strategic neutrality is usually the absolute core of her brand's commercial success. But here, it instantly became a major ethical liability because real health was genuinely at stake.
This wasn't just about her personal choice anymore. Not when you have 12 million followers. This was someone with enormous reach, potentially influencing other pregnant women to make genuinely dangerous decisions based on the fact that it was presented as more natural and therefore healthier.
This incident really exposed how this aesthetic authority, just the vibe of perfection and naturalness she embodies, can somehow override actual medical expertise for some people. People end up trusting the aesthetic, the vibe, more than the advice of a doctor because the influencer has so successfully built that parasocial trust. It's a strange, scary power dynamic.
Yeah, scary's right.
And this whole incident fits perfectly into that larger trend some people call the trad wife wellness movement.
This trend often involves a romanticized rejection of modern norms, things like pasteurization, vaccines, sometimes in pursuit of a natural, traditional image.
The logic is flawed. If it looks traditional or natural, it must be better or safer, which just isn't always true.
But the cultural cost extends far beyond one controversial video. When lifestyle content and advertising become indistinguishable, when every perfectly styled post could be a highly paid promotion disguised as an authentic recommendation, audiences lose their ability to critically evaluate what they consume.
We stop asking the crucial questions.
Like, is this image real? And this feeds directly into what psychologists term aspirational escapism. It's its underlying belief that if you just buy the right things, adopt the right look, you can somehow escape the messiness of everyday life. Use this organic flour, arrange your pantry just so, wake up at 5 a.m. to bake sourdough, and then your life will finally look and feel like that perfect, filtered ideal online. Even though the person selling that fantasy doesn't live that reality either. It's all performance.
And chasing that filtered ideal can have real-world consequences, especially for younger viewers, particularly women.
It sets these wildly unrealistic expectations. And we see evidence suggesting this can contribute to women maybe rushing into major life decisions.
All in pursuit of this illusion, this fantasy of domestic perfection that doesn't actually exist.
And it's not about painting Nara Smith as some kind of villain. She's arguably a highly successful product of the current system. A system that rewards performance over authenticity, clicks over truth, aesthetics over genuine responsibility. She's just playing the game incredibly well. So the next time you're scrolling and you see content that makes you feel that little pang, that if only feeling, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, who really benefits from me seeing this? What hidden resources are actually creating this supposedly effortless picture? And maybe most importantly, is this person actually qualified to give the advice they seem to be giving, especially if it's about health?
In this world of constant connection, constant curation, maybe the most radical thing you can actually do is just live your real life, your messy, imperfect, actual life, without constantly comparing it to these impossible filtered standards being sold online.
Your value isn't based on having the perfect Pinterest home or being the perfect parent who makes everything from scratch while looking camera ready. Real contentment, that's not something you can buy in the next product, subtly placed in a viral video.
The beautiful, complicated, sometimes totally chaotic reality of your actual life.
Yeah.
That isn't content needing optimization. It's not a brand you need to perfect. It's not a performance. It's just your life, and it's enough, exactly as it is. Perhaps the most perfect life is the one that's too real and too beautifully messy to ever go viral. That's a wrap on this episode of Social Media Mayhem. Next week, we're breaking down another viral phenomenon taking over your feed, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.
Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.